There are 6 fruits, yes, fruits, that many seniors eat every single day, thinking they're doing their bodies a favor, when in reality, these healthy choices might be quietly wreaking havoc on blood sugar levels, worsening joint pain, and even accelerating inflammation. And the craziest part? Some of these fruits are regularly recommended in mainstream diets. But what if I told you that eating them past the age of 60 could actually increase your risk of developing blood sugar imbalances, joint stiffness, and persistent fatigue? Why are some fruits turning against us as we age? Is nature really to blame? Or is it what's been done to these fruits before they even reach your plate? And what's the one fruit that's been labeled a natural healer, but could be a hidden source of fructose overload? Stick around because in this video, you're going to find out exactly which fruits to avoid, what happens inside your body when you keep eating them, and, more importantly, what safer alternatives you can choose that support your joints and stabilize your blood sugar. Make sure you hit that subscribe button right now so you don't miss more science-backed tips designed to help you live better, longer, and with more energy, especially after 60. Let's dive in. It's easy to assume that if it's fruit, it's healthy. After all, nature wouldn't produce something harmful, right? That belief has guided millions of well-meaning people into making daily food choices that may have helped them stay energized in their younger years, but have slowly turned into metabolic traps with age. The truth is, after 60, our metabolism slows, our insulin sensitivity shifts, and our body's ability to process certain sugars becomes more fragile. Yet many of us continue eating the same fruits we did when we were 20, 30, or even 50, without realizing how drastically our internal landscape has changed. Here's the issue. Not all fruits are created equal, especially when it comes to the type and amount of sugar they contain. Fructose, for example, the type of sugar found in fruit, is metabolized in a very specific way, and it's one of the least forgiving sugars for aging bodies. Unlike glucose, which can be used by almost every cell in the body for energy, fructose has to be processed by the liver, and that's where the problems begin. When you eat high fructose fruits in large amounts, especially if your liver is already under stress from years of processed food, medications, or even just normal aging, the fructose gets converted into fat. This is called de novo lipogenesis. Over time, this process contributes to fatty liver, elevated triglycerides, and insulin resistance. You may not feel it happening. You might just notice that your belly's a little rounder, your energy crashes more often, or your blood work comes back with slightly elevated numbers. Nothing dramatic, but the damage is accumulating quietly. One of the biggest myths that needs to be dismantled is the idea that natural sugar is harmless. People assume that if it comes from fruit, it can't be bad. But natural or not, sugar behaves the same way once it enters your bloodstream. And seniors are especially vulnerable. Your pancreas isn't producing insulin like it used to. Your muscle mass, which helps buffer glucose, is likely reduced. And your joints? They're more prone to inflammation triggered by glycation, the chemical reaction between sugar and protein that leads to stiffness, soreness, and long-term damage. Here's a scenario. You wake up in the morning, grab a banana or a bowl of grapes thinking you're starting your day off right. Your blood sugar spikes quickly, insulin follows, and within an hour or two, you're already crashing. You feel tired, maybe irritable. So you grab something else, maybe a fruit bar or even just another banana. The cycle repeats. And all the while, your joints are quietly aching and your liver is quietly working overtime. Let's take bananas. For example, they're often marketed as the perfect on-the-go snack full of potassium and fiber. But a ripe banana contains about 14 grams of sugar. Most of it has fructose and glucose. That's not a lot if you're 25, highly active, and burning through carbs like a furnace. But if you're 65, relatively sedentary, and insulin resistant, it's a different story entirely. That sugar hits your bloodstream fast, and your body scrambles to deal with it. And it doesn't stop there. Consider grapes. Just 1 cup has over 23 grams of sugar. That's more than a small candy bar. They're small, sweet, and easy to overeat, which is part of the problem. You could easily eat 2 or 3 cups in one sitting without even realizing it. And those sugars, they don't just spike your glucose, they fuel inflammation, and not the kind you notice immediately. It's the low-grade, chronic type that gradually wears away at your joints, clogs your arteries, and fogs up your brain. What about fruit juices? A glass of orange juice might seem innocent. After all, it's just squeezed fruit, right? But when you strip away the fiber, all you're left with is a concentrated sugar bomb. 1 cup of orange juice can have 20 to 25 grams of sugar, and because it's in liquid form, it hits your bloodstream faster than anything solid ever could. That fast absorption overwhelms your body's regulatory systems and puts an immediate strain on your pancreas and liver. Now, you might be thinking, but aren't fruits also full of antioxidants? Don't they protect my heart and eyes? And yes, certain fruits do contain powerful polyphenols and micronutrients. But here's the kicker. You don't need to eat the sugary ones to get those benefits. Berries like blueberries, raspberries, and blackberries have far lower sugar content, especially when compared gram for gram with tropical fruits like mangoes or pineapples. They deliver the good stuff, antioxidants, fiber, phytochemicals, without sending your blood sugar into the stratosphere. Pineapple, for instance, is loaded with bromelain, an enzyme that's touted for its anti-inflammatory benefits. Sounds good, right? But 1 cup of pineapple chunks contains nearly 16 grams of sugar, and the fructose in that fruit can easily outweigh the benefits of the bromelain, especially if your liver is already under pressure. The net effect: more strain, more inflammation, and more risk of joint pain and sugar imbalance. Let's pause here and think about the joints. If you're someone dealing with arthritis or even mild stiffness, you know how debilitating joint discomfort can be. What many people don't realize is that joint pain isn't always just about age or wear and tear. It's also about inflammation, and what drives that inflammation often starts on your plate. Sugar, particularly fructose, plays a role in forming AGEs, advanced glycation end products. These compounds form when sugar molecules bind to proteins in the body, creating rigid, damaging structures that accumulate in tissues like cartilage and skin. Over time, AGEs stiffen the joints, reduce flexibility, and amplify pain. Watermelon is another surprise on the list. It's mostly water, right? Feels refreshing, but it's also one of the highest glycemic fruits you can eat, despite its water content. Watermelon has a glycemic index of about 72, which means it causes a rapid rise in blood sugar. You may feel great for a few minutes after eating it, but the crash will come. And if you're sensitive to blood sugar fluctuations, it might trigger fatigue, brain fog, or cravings for more sweet things. Now here's where it gets even more interesting. As we age, not only does our ability to process sugar decline, but our need for stable blood sugar becomes even more critical. High glucose variability, meaning those frequent ups and downs, has been linked in numerous studies to increased risk of dementia, cardiovascular disease, and even frailty. It's not just about diabetes anymore. It's about preserving brain function, mobility, and independence. And while we're on the subject of independence, think about this. Every time your blood sugar spikes, your insulin spikes, and high. Insulin over time doesn't just lead to insulin resistance. It's been associated with increased abdominal fat, decreased muscle retention, and a faster rate of biological aging. That's right. Certain fruits, by elevating insulin too frequently, might be accelerating your aging process from the inside out. And here's something few people know. Even dried fruits like dates, raisins, and figs can be some of the worst offenders. Why? Because they're concentrated sugar bombs. Drying fruit removes the water but none of the sugar. That handful of raisins in your oatmeal, that's over 17 grams of sugar in just 2 tablespoons. Imagine what that's doing to your blood sugar, your liver, your joints, every single day. Now let me ask you this. When was the last time a doctor asked about your fruit intake when checking your blood sugar or talking about your joint pain? Probably never. And yet, the science is there. The connection is real. What we put into our bodies, even the things we think are healthy, can either support healing or silently feed disease. If you're over 50 and your joints ache when you get out of bed, go upstairs, or just try to enjoy a walk, it's not your age, and it's not your fault. The real issue, your body's running out of a natural substance that cushions your joints like a shock absorber. And most supplements out there, glucosamine, collagen, all of it, don't fix this. But now, researchers have discovered a breakthrough that can actually restore what your joints are missing. And people in their 60s, 70s, even 80s are seeing real relief. If you're feeling stiff, sore, or weaker lately, stop guessing. Check the link in the pinned comment now. Let's go deeper into one fruit that surprises almost everyone, the seemingly innocent pear. Pears are praised for being high in fiber and gentle on digestion, and in many ways they are. But here's where things get tricky. A medium-sized pear contains about 17 grams of sugar. That's more than what the American Heart Association recommends in total added sugar for an entire day. While it's not technically added sugar, your body doesn't make that distinction. Once it reaches your liver and bloodstream, sugar is sugar. The fiber in pears is indeed beneficial. It can help slow down the absorption of sugar into your bloodstream, but only up to a point. If you're already dealing with insulin resistance or have prediabetes, that fiber might not be enough to blunt the impact. In a younger, more metabolically flexible body, it might not matter. But in a senior body already grappling with blood sugar control, every bite counts. And this leads us to a crucial truth. The fruit that's healthy for one person at one stage of life might not be healthy for another, especially when we're talking about aging bodies that are more sensitive to fluctuations in insulin, cortisol, and systemic inflammation. Let's look at another example that tends to confuse people. Mangoes, rich in vitamin C, vibrant in color, and deliciously sweet. That sweetness, however, comes at a cost. One medium mango can contain 45 grams of sugar. To put that in perspective, that's more sugar than a can of soda. Yes, mangoes are natural, but if you're eating one whole mango in a smoothie, thinking it's doing wonders for your health, you might be creating more problems than you're solving. What makes this more dangerous is the frequency. Seniors often develop a habit of eating fruit in predictable patterns. Banana in the morning, a fruit snack at lunch, maybe some watermelon or grapes in the evening. That constant, repeated intake of fructose-rich foods throughout the day means your liver never gets a break. It's in a continuous cycle of trying to process excess sugar into fat, often storing it in the liver itself, or sending triglycerides into the bloodstream. That's why so many seniors, many of whom have never had a sip of alcohol in their lives, still develop non-alcoholic fatty liver disease. And here's something that most people miss. Fructose doesn't raise your blood sugar directly, which is why many traditional blood glucose tests won't catch the problem early. Fructose is metabolized in the liver, not the bloodstream. So your blood sugar might look fine, while behind the scenes your liver is quietly accumulating fat. The damage happens slowly until it doesn't. This is especially important for people who are already on medications for blood pressure, cholesterol, or blood sugar. These medications may help manage the symptoms, but they don't stop the underlying driver if your diet continues to bombard your body with sugar disguised as health food. Over time, this adds up. Your medications may need to increase. Your energy might decline. You may wonder why you feel worse despite doing all the right things. And this is why we need to talk about smarter fruit choices. Because this isn't about cutting fruit entirely, it's about choosing the ones that love you back. Low glycemic fruits like blueberries, raspberries, blackberries, and even kiwi in moderation can offer antioxidants, fiber, and vitamins without spiking your blood sugar. These fruits also tend to have higher levels of polyphenols, which have been shown in research to help modulate inflammation, protect cardiovascular health, and even support brain function in aging adults. Compare that to dried apricots, which many seniors snack on thinking they're a fiber-rich treat. A half cup of dried apricots contains over 35 grams of sugar. Again, natural, yes, but excessive and concentrated. And let's not forget that dried fruit often contains added preservatives like sulfites, which can further irritate the gut and exacerbate joint inflammation in sensitive individuals. So what's the pattern we're seeing? The most problematic fruits for seniors are typically the ones that are high in fructose and total sugar, are easy to overconsume because they're small or liquid, have low fiber-to-sugar ratios, are eaten frequently without awareness of the cumulative effect. Now, let's connect this to joints again. You may have noticed increased stiffness, slower recovery after movement, or that familiar grinding feeling in the knees or hands. That's not just age. It's chemistry. Excess sugar contributes to a process called glycation, where sugar molecules bind to collagen in your cartilage. Collagen is what gives joints their flexibility and structure. Glycation makes collagen rigid, brittle, and prone to damage. Over time, this results in reduced mobility, greater pain, and accelerated degeneration. And while medications like NSAIDs or joint supplements might give temporary relief, they won't undo glycation. That damage starts with sugar, including Yes, sugar from certain fruits. Now I want to make something really clear. This doesn't mean fruit is bad. It means fruit must be chosen wisely. The right kind of fruit, eaten in the right amount, at the right time, can support your health, nourish your cells, and give you antioxidants your body needs. But that choice needs to be informed. You deserve to know the difference between what helps and what harms, especially when the harm is hidden behind a healthy label. For example, if you enjoy fruit in the morning, try pairing low-sugar fruits like blueberries with a source of fat or protein, like Greek yogurt, cottage cheese, or a handful of almonds. This slows down sugar absorption, buffers insulin release, and keeps your energy steady. If you've been snacking on grapes, raisins, or bananas throughout the day, try replacing those with sliced cucumbers, cherry tomatoes, or half an avocado. These options don't just avoid sugar, they help nourish your gut, balance electrolytes, and reduce joint inflammation. Remember this, the key to longevity isn't just about adding more years to your life. It's about adding more life to your years. That means less pain, more energy, better mobility, clearer thinking, and a body that supports your goals, not one that limits them. It's not too late to make changes. Whether you're 60, 70, or 85, your body is always listening. And one of the fastest, simplest, most impactful changes you can make is in your fruit choices. Start today. Swap one sugary fruit for a fiber-rich, low-glycemic one. Cut back on juices. Watch your portion sizes, and listen to how your body responds. Within days, you may notice better digestion, improved energy, and even less joint stiffness. What's next? If you want to learn more about how blood sugar affects your entire body and the foods that could be silently making things worse, then watch the video on your screen right now. It's packed with even more tips that can help you protect your health starting today.